record today's class? Okay. So the IELTS speaking test is a face-to-face interview with an examiner. Sometimes it can also be in the online form. When you take the exam from Barrettson, you don't have any choice. So they will choose it instead of you. I don't think that one of the examiners, to be honest, gives higher score than the second one. I think, they are the same. And they are fair enough, to be honest. And both forms are okay, in my opinion. It doesn't matter which one is chosen. It lasts something like 15 minutes, something like 15 minutes approximately, and has 3 parts. Each part has different skills, so your approach must be different for each stage. So firstly, we have 3 parts, as you know, part 1, part 2, and part 3, and we know the speaking questions beforehand. In order to get these questions, you can, not this one, just 1 minute. Okay. So in order to get these questions, you can make use of the app of IELTS Speaking Assistant. So here you can see all of these questions and can get prepared for it. But when it comes to part 3, the examiner can ask any question. So it's up to the examiner. So the examiner isn't required to ask exactly the same questions from the app. Okay, that's why you need to have the general information relating to the given topics. Let's start with part 1. Part 1 is the introduction and interview part, which lasts something like 4 or 5 minutes, And here, examiner asks questions about familiar topics. It can be home, studies, hobbies, daily routine, technology, food, and etc. As I mentioned before, you can have any easy access to these questions with the help of the app of IELTS Speaking Assistant. Hello. There are some must-dos that you need to do in part 1. Firstly, don't talk about your whole life story in part 1, because in part 1, it should be something like 2 or 3 sentences, no more than this. And sometimes when the examiner asks a question, students answer it with yes or no. That's what I wouldn't recommend you to do. Try to extend your ideas, but not that much long. It should be something between 2 or 3 sentences in part 1. Try to give the reasons and examples relating to the point. And thirdly, sound natural, not memorized. Sometimes I can observe that students use simple words in their speech and even make some simple grammatical mistakes, but they want to use some high-level words as well. So the examiner will understand that you have just learned it by heart. So that's what I wouldn't recommend you. Try to be as natural as possible. So when you start thinking about a complex word or complex grammatical structure, you will lose your fluency and your score will be lower than expected. So yeah, if you can learn new collocations and make use of them in your speech, that's okay. But in order to find them, don't force yourself, okay? In this case, your score will be higher. What you should avoid one-word answers. You shouldn't answer the questions with just the help of one word. Avoid, please, overly long off-topic replies. So if the question is about, let's say, your studies, don't start talking about your family and etc. No need for giving extra details. The examiner doesn't care, to be honest. I'm recording the class, actually, guys. And try to avoid some rare and unnatural words. What I mean here is that sometimes students think that they replace the words with its synonyms, but they don't use it in the correct place. So if you are not sure that this word can be used in this context, in this case, don't use this word, okay? It will decrease your score. Common mistakes, as I have mentioned before, only saying yes or no to the given questions. Secondly, repeating the question. Yeah, it is very important. For example, if in the question, examiner asks the question with the help of the word of significant, in your own speech, make use of the word of important. Try to paraphrase the words as much as possible. Try not to use the words that the examiner has used in his or her speech. Forgetting to expand with a reason. One more thing I want to explain. If you see that you have made a mistake, please don't go back. Just continue. If you go back and correct your mistake, in this case, it can affect your fluency negatively and you can lose some score. So that's why if you have made a mistake, that's pretty okay. Just continue. Don't make the same mistake one more time. With just one mistake, you will not lose that much score. Any questions relating to part one? Nothing? Okay. Then let's continue with part two. In part two, as you know, different cue
Sorry,
cards will be. Yeah,
can I ask a
Nazrin.
question?
Sure, you
I
can.
joined a little bit late. How much maximum sentence we have to use in part one?
2 or 3 sentences, no more than this, please. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, too. Always the first question will be about your hometown or studies or work. So please get prepared for these questions. Let's continue with part two. Part two is the score, having the most significant impact on our score, to be honest. So as you know, the cue cards have been announced beforehand. That's why you need to study them as much as possible. Because sometimes, you know, you have good vocabulary and etc. All the things are right, but the problem is that you don't have any idea to speak, and you cannot pass 1 minute and 30 seconds. In this case, you can get a low score. The main problem that I had was speaking too much. Something like when the examiner stopped me, I was like in the middle of my speech, not like the end. You should be at the end of your speech when the examiner stops you. So for example, when it comes to my last exam, I tried to correct this mistake and try to give fewer details relating to my answer because I usually speak like long enough. So that's why what I can recommend you is something like this. If you cannot pass 1 minute and 30 seconds, it means you lack some ideas. Get some ideas, analyze, look at some sample answers. There is one podcast that I can recommend you after our class. I'm gonna send this podcast to our WhatsApp group. This is like IELTS Speaking Success, if I'm not mistaken. And they talk about all the topics which can be in the real IELTS exam. I really appreciate it, to be honest. When I'm on my car or like I'm just walking or something like this, I listen to this recordings and they analyze the given answers. They explain why this is band 9. They give some cool occasions relating to the given topic and at the same time ideas. So I would highly recommend you to listen to these podcasts in order to improve both your listening and speaking skills, to be honest. When it comes to part two, here you will be given a cue card with a topic and some points. You will have 1 minute to prepare notes. I usually take notes relating to the collocations and grammatical structures that I'm planning to use. And I look at them, and while looking, I can easily make use of them. And then you should speak between 1 and 2 minutes. So if the examiner stops you, that's a good thing. But when the examiner stops you, you shouldn't be in the middle of your speech as me. You should be at the end of your speech. So when I was in the middle of my speech, during my first exam, my problems were something like this. In part one, I was speaking too much, and in part two again. And when the examiner stopped me, I was in the middle of my speech, as I mentioned before. That's why I got 7.5 from the speaking part. But during my second exam, I paid attention to these details, and my score became 8. So in order to make it higher, maybe it would be better to learn some collocations and make use of them, as I didn't get prepared for the questions. I didn't have like that much strong ideas to explain, to be honest.
Excuse me,
My,
I'm sorry.
uh-huh.
Is it a good thing examiner stopped me?
Yeah, it is a very good thing, to be honest. But as I mentioned before, you shouldn't be in the middle of your speech when the examiner stops you. You should be somewhere like the conclusion part when the examiner stops you. So try to manage your time as effectively as possible. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Part two, as I mentioned, you will be given some time, and during this time, you can take your notes on your paper. And then while speaking, you can look at your paper. I would recommend you to take notes relating to the collocations, grammar, structures that you are planning to use. I usually make use of second conditional and not also, but also inversion, no matter sentence structures in my speech. But I have already got used to use them in my speech, so that's why it's not that much hard. I would recommend you to make use of them as much as possible in your daily life in order to make use of them in your exam as well. So in part two, we need to follow the structure. We need to first give the introduction, then the main points, then the example, and the conclusion part. Usually the most common problem that I observe is I think in today's class, we will not have enough time for conversation, but I will just explain. If we have, we will have this speaking topic and collocations together. If we don't have this time, during our next class, we can look at the given topic. So the structure should be introduction, main points, example, and closing. The main problem that I observe is that students usually don't give an introduction or give an extremely long introduction to the given topic. Guys, you shouldn't give an extremely long introduction, but you should give it an introduction. For example, if it's about your best friend, you should say that as an outgoing person, I have a large circle of friends with whom I usually hang out. And today I would like to talk about one of the most important ones, whose name is Nazrin, for example, and then you will start talking about Nazrin. So approximately by using 2 sentences, you should give an introduction to the given point, which will improve your structure. At the same time, it will affect timing positively as you use linkers to connect your ideas. I'm going to explain how to do it. Add details. These questions will be given to bonus, but there are some things that you should avoid. First is stopping after 30 seconds, stopping after 1 minute or something like this. You shouldn't stop. If you forget something, that's okay. The examiner doesn't know what you forgot. So you can just keep going. Reading notes word for word. Yeah, sometimes I see that when students have time, they write sentences, not collocations, and they just read the sentences. That's not okay. You shouldn't do something like this. You shouldn't write sentences on your paper. You should just take notes relating to the collocations, words, idioms that you are planning to use, and not that much idioms, to be honest, because that will not sound natural, to be honest. And sometimes a piece of cake or, over the moon. This type of simple idiomatic phrases are not acceptable for the IELTS exam. You need to have topic-related collocations, which are also covered during our writing classes. Do you know? Reading listening classes. I send you some vocabulary. And here you can find a lot of collocations which can be used in your writing and speaking parts at the same time. And basic repetitive sentences. Yeah, the problem is that sometimes students, gives the same point with just paraphrasing it. They don't add something new, okay? The same sentence, don't do something like this. Each sentence should have a different meaning. Don't speak too fast. So if you are a person who speaks faster than normal in his or her own life, in this case, guys, try to speak in the slow motion. Because when you speak too fast, you can lose coherence. Don't ignore bullet points. So you will see some questions here, 3, 4 questions. Try to answer each of them separately. Okay, linking words for part 2. For example, when you start a story, for example, it's about the time that you met your friend, you can say, as for the time when we first bumped into each other, I would like to talk about moments when, speaking of our first date, the first thing that comes to my mind is it was at school. So something like this type of linking words will help you to improve your coherence. Moving to next bullet point. If you are changing the question, want to talk about the second question, just show the examiner that I'm going to talk about the second point. In order to show this, you can say, as for the time I received this gift, regarding who gave it to me, when it comes to where it happened, with regard to how I felt, something like this. So again, it will improve your structure and the examiner will understand what you are going to talk. Adding details. What made it so special was that another interesting point was that something was mentioning is, can you see? I'm just giving a spoiler to the examiner what I'm going to talk there. So that's why that is what I would recommend you to do. And closing, you need to have the conclusion part as well. So overall, it was truly an unforgettable experience. That was why I will always remember this point. To sum up, this event still means a lot to me. I usually recommend my students to finish their speech with something like the conclusion, which is about their future plans about this topic. So you can start talking about your past, present, and future, something like this in your speech. Any questions? Nothing? Just give me a minute. I need to take my charger. I'm coming back in a few minutes. Okay, finally solved my problem. We can continue.
Teacher, so sorry.
Yes,
I have one question about the
ask please.
moving to next bullet point. This here is a written, for example, as for the time I received this gift and others. Here I should answer the second question of part 2, or how? It just mixed my mind.
So now in part 2, actually, we have that. Have you ever attended any speaking mock exam? Because if I'm not mistaken, you
Yes, I
are
have.
one of our guided top students, right? Have you attended a speaking mock exam? So in part 2, as you know, different questions are given to us. So if you have already answered the first one and want to continue with the second one, in order to show that I'm going to talk about the second one, you will make use of this linking words. Did you understand?
Uh,
Okay, clear for you?
Somehow,
Is it clear for you?
I think it will. Yeah.
What you couldn't get, I couldn't understand what you couldn't get. So in part 2, guys, as you know, one cue card will be given to us. For example, something like describe one of your best friends. Who is she or he? When you met as the first time? What do you usually do together? How do you feel when you meet? For example, something like this. So first we will answer this question in our speech, right? So you will give information. Then when it comes to the time that you first met, you will say, as for the time when we first bumped into each other, and then you will give information relating to the second point. Then after finishing this, you will continue with this. And in order to talk about this, for example, you will say, let's say, what made her so special is our meetings when we do blah, 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 for example. And how do you feel when you met? Then you can show that, for example. What can we use here? Speaking of my feelings, the first thing that comes to my mind is blah, blah, blah. So we need to just show the point that we are going to talk here. So it is something like the spoiler that we are going to give the examiner. Always the cue cards will be given to you, as you know, during the exam, and you need to answer your questions according to this. Okay? As in case of having further questions, just feel free to ask. Part three is again one of the most significant parts, to be honest, because here what we need is having strong ideas relating to different topics. Usually during our writing classes, we discuss some, ideas with my students, and these ideas also can be seen in the real IELTS in speaking part, especially in part 3. And it is about something more global topics, environment, society, economy, education, environment I have already mentioned. So examiner asks more abstract questions connected to part 2. So if your part 2 was about economy, then part 3 also will be about economy. If it was about education, then part 3 will be about education. So the very first thing that you need to do is giving developed ideas. What does it mean? You need to give reason, explanation, example. You need to think that we are writing a body paragraph. Do you remember our body paragraph structure? We have a topic sentence, then the first idea, then explanation, the second idea, and its explanation. Use academic sentence starters, show critical thinking. You need to have a lot of ideas about different topics. So in order to have them, you need to just study the idea lists that I have sent to you. So relating to agree essays, advanced disadvantage essays, blah, blah, blah. So according to them, you need to study. What you need to avoid is simple answers with no explanation. Sometimes, for example, the question is about the benefits of living in a city. And in this case, students try to give as many ideas as possible. They say, for example, let's say, easy access to transportation, high quality education, better work opportunities. Guys, you shouldn't give a lot of ideas. Just give 2 ideas and their explanations. That's enough. Giving, let's say, better ideas is more effective than giving a lot of ideas. So that's why try not to give a lot of ideas, the list of ideas. Just choose 2 of them. Sometimes if you cannot find just 1 of them, and explain it as much as possible. Talking only about yourself. Yeah, this is again one of the problems. So yeah, part 1 is about ourselves. But when it comes to part 3, we shouldn't talk about ourselves. Here we should talk about all the people, okay? Do you remember the IELTS task 2? So I usually recommend you not to talk about yourself. Like, we need to be a little bit more general and talk about some specific groups. Maybe it can be students, workers, or let's say people, something like this. You shouldn't give examples from yourselves. It should be a little bit more global ones. And repeating the same vocabulary. Sometimes instead of paraphrasing the given ideas and words, students continue using the same words so many times. That's what I wouldn't recommend you, to be honest. And the second mistake they make is that, as I have already mentioned, the examiner asks the question and they repeat exactly the same words that the examiner has used. So you need to paraphrase the examiner's question as much as possible. The common mistakes, not justifying opinions, going off topic. Yeah, even if you use like the most advanced words, grammar, very good ideas. So if your ideas are a little bit off topic, you will not get that much high score. Using very informal language, like, yeah, we should use it, but like, not that much, not excessively. Okay. And don't repeat the same linker so many times. For example, I usually use actually at the beginning of my sentences, but we should try to change it. Actually, in fact, blah, blah, blah. We need to make use of a wide range of words, okay? I said, yes, I have mentioned, as I have mentioned, yeah, you will be asked the questions which are on this app, but only in part 3, the examiner can change the questions. So that's why for part 3, you need to have a little bit, let's say, broader information relating to different topics. The topics will be the same, but when it comes to the questions, they can be different during the exam. But when it comes to part 1 and part 2, they're exactly the same during the exam. Any other questions? No? Okay, let's continue. Answer structures, templates for part 2. It is something like we usually do in our IELTS writing task 2, and also in part 3, speaking part 3, you need to follow the same structure. So let's say that our topic is about climate change, and the examiner asks the reasons why climate change happened. So we can say there are a lot of reasons behind this issue. To begin with, we can give the first idea, then we can explain it. Then additionally, we can give the second idea, we can explain, or if we want, we can give an example as well. Or let's look at this. From my point of view, one of the main reasons is idea 1. This is because you will give explanation. Another factor is second one, which you will explain. And in fact, you will give an example. In terms of this problem, that's very good. I usually use it in my speech. The primary cause is you will show the first cause, its explanation, effect. Apart from that, and the second one, and its explanation and example also will be given. Or there are mixed opinions. For example, there can be one question like this. Some people think that children who commit crimes should be punished, but others think that no, their parents are the ones who should shoulder the responsibility. What do you think? Then you can say that there are mixed opinions about this. On the one hand, blah, blah, blah can be considered important because on the other hand, you will also show the second view. Overall, I believe that at the end of your speech, you need to show
In,
your own opinion. Yes, Gildian?
in which situation we use apart from them and also plays a role? Like
Which
he
one do you
used
mean?
cause
Okay, here it is again, cause effects are the same. Because if you have a lot of questions and have already answered one of them and like they want to give the second idea, then you can make use of this.
Like, can you
Cause
give
and
an
effect.
example for this?
What? I couldn't hear.
Can you give an example for this?
Yeah, I have already given. Do you remember the climate change question? So climate change happens, let's say, is a popular topic in today's world. Just one minute. Okay. Climate, okay. For example, climate change is a popular topic in today's world. Why is this? And you can say that in terms of this problem, the primary cause is human-induced activities, since they use a lot of cars or public transport, private transportation instead of public transportation. As a result, their carbon footprints increase and they release a lot of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Apart from that, government is also to blame for this negative tendency, or we can say government also plays a role because in order to meet people's demands, overconsumption happens in today's world. For instance, in order to produce oil, gas, and etc., a lot of factories work, having detrimental impacts on the air quality, for example, something like this. We need to give the ideas and their explanation. Nazrin, how many sentences should we use? Okay, Nazrin, approximately 5 sentences. Nazrin, we are writing by the paragraphs together in our IELTS writing task 2 classes. So do you remember the number of the sentences that we write in our task 2 paragraphs? Approximately 5 sentences in each paragraph, yeah? We give like the topic sentence, idea 1, explanation, idea 2, explanation. So in part 3, approximately you need to give 5 sentences. Okay?
May I ask one question?
Sure.
We say that we need to avoid talking about ourselves. In this case, in the second question, we start the answer is from my point of view. It is okay, or
Okay.
it depends on the
You misunderstood,
question.
to be honest, my explanation. I didn't say that you shouldn't give your own opinions. I said that you shouldn't give examples from your own life experience. You should
Okay.
exactly share your own opinions, but you should, for example, it is about, let's say, let me choose one topic, the use of bicycles. Okay. So while giving an example, you shouldn't say that I don't like bicycles because it's not comfortable for me. It's for you. It's a global topic. You shouldn't give an example relating to yourself. You should talk about, more people. I had one student in the past, and it was about job satisfaction and high salary. And she said that my sister changed her job because she wasn't satisfied at all, and right now she earns a lower amount of money. So your sister has changed her job, so it means we should also do it. Is your sister a good example? If as a result you show that as a result her mental problems could be solved or something like this, if you show the positive consequence of this, in this case, yeah, it can be a good thing. But if you say that I do this because of this, this is correct, or my friend does this because of this, this is correct, it's not good. So examples should be more generalized. But when it comes to the opinions, yeah, we need to give our own opinions because they ask our opinions, not other people's opinions, in both IELTS writing task 2 and also in speaking parts. Okay?
I get it. Thank you.
Thank you too. Any other opinions and other questions that you want to ask, guys? I'm here to answer. Nothing?
I have a question. Is
Ask
it
away.
okay to say, as I said before in the speaking part?
As I said before, I usually don't say as I said before. I say as I have already mentioned. Okay,
Okay.
as I have already mentioned, something like that. I refer to my previous idea, so it's good. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, do you know why we should do it? Because if you say that, as I have already mentioned, and you again give the same sentence, it's not good, because we shouldn't repeat the same sentence. Even if you paraphrase it, you shouldn't use it. So, as I have already mentioned, we can use something like this. It's a positive tendency because of the factors that I have already mentioned. So in order not to repeat my previous ideas, just I make use of this structure. Got it? Any other questions?
Thank you.
Mhm.
I have a question, please.
Ask, please.
Is it important we say example after the answer?
No, you are not required to do it. Instead of example, you can give explanation as well. Okay, doesn't matter.
Okay.
So both of them are acceptable. And also IELTS writing task too. So one of the most common problems is that I don't know why, but most students think that they should exactly give an example. If they don't give any example, they will not get a high score. No, there is nothing like that. Giving an example is one of the methods that you can extend your idea. You can also extend your idea with giving a piece of explanation, for example. It doesn't matter. We have just, one criteria. If you just have explained your idea very well, no need for the example. If you couldn't explain your idea, if you want to give a little bit more details about it, more examples about this, yeah, in this case, examples. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you too. And other questions? Next? Okay. I usually recommend, do we have? No? Okay. I usually recommend to make use of this type of things in my both speech and writing. I think they're very good. So I can't hear your voice. I don't know who is speaking right now, but the voice quality is too low, so I'm unable to hear, unfortunately. For example, if you want to give an idea relating to economy, then start like this. In economic terms, in social terms, moral terms, in terms of economy, as for the economy, okay? And something like this. One significant factor is this matters particularly because, moreover, from an environmental point of view, professional point of view. But don't force yourself, guys, to make use of them. So if you can't use, just don't use, okay? In order to get, even if you want to get 7, you are not required to make use of that much collocations in your speech. So what you are required to do is giving topic-related ideas, extending them, following the correct structure. That's it. By the way, you are not required to make use of exactly the same words that I have given. No, just try to understand the structure. And after understanding the structure, you can make use of it. Okay. Any other questions related to this part? No. Useful sentence starters for part 3. It's not only part 3. It's also for IELTS writing task 2, You can start, if you want to give professional, personal balance in terms of our professional lives. But when it comes to our personal lives, from a personal point of view, with regards to our professional lives, I think, as I have mentioned, so if you want to get even band 7 by using simple words, if your speech is understandable, if it is easy to follow, you can make use of it easily. It doesn't matter. So just you need to have topic related ideas, good structure, and good explanations. Because I know that most of you make this mistake. Please don't give the list of your ideas. Just choose 2 of them. Idea, explanation, something like this. I said, if you are aiming to get 8.5 or 9, you shouldn't use simple words in your speech. So in this case, you should make use of topic-related collocations, sometimes idioms, good connectors, high level of grammatical structures, a wide range of grammatical
I'm
structures.
sorry.
Not
We
that
should
much
use
easy to get.
only academic words, yeah?
Speaking, no, it can be informal in speaking as well. In writing, yeah, we need to make use of academic words, but
Yeah.
for speaking, it doesn't matter. You can use idioms. Idioms are not
Yeah,
academic,
a little bit.
but we use
We
it.
can talk only daily life,
A
yeah?
little bit, a little bit, yeah, but not that much. Collocations, idioms, something like this should be used. So I said, as I mentioned, if you want to get 8.5 now, how can we learn? Firstly, you should be exposed to this language on a daily basis. Every day you should make use of this language. You can be, in one of the working environments or something like this in order to improve it. Secondly, You can listen to the podcasts that I have mentioned. I'm gonna send this podcast after our class. So it is IELTS Speaking Success, if I'm not mistaken. You can listen to their answers and then get some topic-related ideas, vocabulary, connectors, and etc. So it takes a little bit long time, to be honest, to get 8.59 from the speaking part. Thank you, I said. For example, 2 years ago, my speaking score was 7. Then I started to be an English teacher, and I used English language in my daily life. And at the end of, if I'm not mistaken, 1 year, I was able to get 8 from the speaking part. But you know, I haven't studied the questions. What I did was discussing this topic with my students and with them learning them. Yeah, I say that this is the same podcast that you have said. So you should be exposed to this language as much as possible in order, for example, right now, in order to get 8.5 and 9, in order to increase my speaking score, I'm taking some extra lessons with some native speakers, native IELTS examiners. So then it can be helpful. You should you should force yourself to use this language. Even when I get prepared for the IELTS exam, guys, all the things in my life are relating to the English language. When I listen to music, I listen to this in English language. When I listen to a podcast, I listen to this in the English language, something like this. And if we have no opinion or idea for the question, how could we change our topic? Good. If you don't have I don't have an idea relating to the given question. I had one student who asked the teacher, what if I don't have an idea relating to IELTS writing task to topic? Nothing. Just stop and start crying. Nothing else you can do here. Maybe you can write something in order not to get, 0, something like this. But write as much as possible. I don't know.
Maybe you can imagine something about part 2 topic,
Yeah.
like
But
excuse maybe.
it should be relating to the given topic, yeah? You shouldn't write anything off topic. If it is about environment, you cannot talk about anything else then. But I haven't had any students, so during my teaching life, who couldn't find an idea relating to the given topics. I don't know, maybe because of being stressed during the exam, you always are able to find an idea. Even if sometimes I had some students who didn't know the words in the given IELTS question, but he just, tried to make it up and found it correctly. I don't know how, but during the exam, most probably you will not face this type of problems, especially with my students. We discuss the possible questions, which can be. So in the exam, it will be most probably one of them or something looking like this. For example, today I had one student who took his exam, and the question from task 2 was something like that. Some people think that government should spend much more money to prevent illnesses rather than spending money on recovering them. To what extent do you agree or disagree with a given opinion? Did you understand the given topic, guys? Some people think that much more money should be spent on, healthy lifestyles, on promoting healthy lifestyles, rather than trying to recover them. So to what extent do you agree or disagree? Yani daha çok pul xərclənməlidir xəstəliyin qarşısının alınmasına da, yəni sağlam həyat təşviqinə, yoxsa xəstəliyin sağaldılmasına. So you can give ideas. For example, you can say that if you, for example, invest some money in public awareness, in this case, you will not only affect the current generations, you will also affect the next generations, because their mindsets will totally change. And that's why their upbringing styles also will change, and the next generations will also be affected. And also you can say that reoccurrence chance is pretty high. Yani xəstəliyin yenidən baş vermə şansı is pretty high. So that's why if the government just spends some money on this, they have a high level of having this illness one more time. But when they just promote healthy lifestyles, as they will have better immune systems, they will have lower chances then it can affect positively. So you can show something like this. And also speaking part, yeah, it looks like the writing questions, something like this. As I can, most of them are part one. In order to listen part two, you need to pay. No, right now they have free YouTube videos. All the videos are free for 1 month. So you can just make use of this chance. Nezaket and Nurani, just go to their YouTube channels. They have released all of them for free right now. For approximately, after, if I'm not mistaken, a month, it will go to their archive. But for now, it is, you can get an access to this. I think there's sometimes, no, it is not because of the fact that she wants to check your self-confidence. It is because of the fact that you have already passed 2 minutes. So in this case, the examiner is required to do, but at the beginning of their speech, they usually say that if you pass 2 minutes, I will stop you. Don't worry about it. So you shouldn't worry about it if the examiner stops you. Once during my exam, my examiner stopped me in my part 3 because I spoke too long and it was the end of my exam. But I wasn't worried at all. Yeah. So it was okay.
So what score did you get?
It was 7.5. But as I mentioned, in part 1, I spoke too long. In part 2, when the examiner stopped me, I was in the middle of my speech, not in the conclusion. I made a lot of structural problems. That was the reason I got this. So even if you make some structural problems, and I
Will
even
you
didn't
send
have
the
strong
video
ideas
link?
relating to the given topics. Which video link, Raul?
You said that the conver
You mean podcast?
yeah, podcast.
I'm gonna send, yeah.
Dilim dolaştı.
Nurana, they asked about the advantages of laws for people. I couldn't get your question. Advantages of laws for people. Gaydaların insan hayatındaki avantajları. They have a lot, so you can explain, some moral advantages you can show, something relating to justice and etc. We have a lot of
Əslində belə
ideas.
bir şey idi ki, yəni hüquq qanunlarının insanlar üçün faydaları, üstünlükləri.
Yeah, they are for people, to be honest. From moral aspects, as you know, other people will not feel that they are superior to others. Like some people will not feel that they are superior to others. So that's why they can do whatever they want. And in terms of economy, people coming from advantaged backgrounds sometimes, have this feeling that they can do whatever they want, but laws can prevent this issue somehow. And in addition to this point, in my opinion, it can also spread justice among society, and then people can feel themselves safer in that country. So you can show these ideas. If you don't find any ideas, just write ChatGPT that I don't have any ideas related to this topic. Can you please give? Then it will give. From 8.2 to 8.5. So most teachers say that, from A2 to B1, it is 2 months. From B2 to B1 to B2, it is 2 months. And IELTS for 3 months, something like 7 months. Most the teachers say something like this, but I don't agree with this. Yeah, you can get 8.5, 7.5 with doing something like this. But when you want 8.5 or 9, 1 year or 18 months are needed. And I don't think that all people should aim to get 8.5. Only the ones who work in English teaching, IELTS, something like this, should get this score. Otherwise, when you want to get accepted by different universities, in this case, 8.5 is not needed there. 7.5, that's enough. So I remember, once one examiner asked me, which score do you want to get and which score do you need? They are different. So just pay attention to the score that you need. Okay, when you want to study abroad, 7.5. That's okay.
Yeah, actually, maybe the score is for 6.5.
Yeah.
Like starting from this, yeah.
But because
In
of,
English teaching,
higher level of competition, sometimes 7 is better.
Business, yeah.
Yeah.
Can be.
So, but when it comes to 8.5, if you're not planning to work in this field, so no need for this. YouTube channel, I have already said. IELTS Speaking Assistant, I'm gonna send. This is the podcast. Also, you can find it on Apple Podcast, Spotify. I said, can we say focusing only one would be wrong? Those preferences should be on the raising awareness, but they should be able to it wasn't about focusing on one. It was about spending more money on what? Okay. If the question was about they should only do it, yeah, we would say that, yeah, they can do it, but not only this. But in conclusion, you can show that while the government should financially support those who have difficulties relating to getting some treatments, at the same time, they should spend much more money on blah, 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 blah. And
Teacher, I have
Farid,
a
you have
question.
sent. Ask please, Altay. Ayla, can you please write your question to our chat box because I've tried to follow the order in order to ask the questions of all of you. Okay. Nuray, if you are one of my guided hub or normal lesson students, you will be shared actually. You can get an access to this. Unfortunately, because of the privacy issues, because of the time and the effort I dedicate to these tasks, I'm unable to share with all students. But when it comes to my students, so I will for sure share both the recording and PDFs. Yeah, Gilgün, it depends of the potential of individual. Sometimes it's actually one of the problems. I agree with you. So it is not only about being hardworking. For some students, it is more difficult to learn a language than others. It's something relating to their capacity. It doesn't mean that they're less intelligent. No, maybe they are good at other subjects, you know. It depends on their aims, potential, background. Okay. I usually observe that when students start learning English language from their school years, they are usually better at this. I'm not one of those who started general English during the school years. I just started learning this language from my university years. But I would exactly want to have a chance to get immersed in this since my childhood. Mariam, I should give short but over. Not that much short, Mariam. Part 1, 2 or 3 sentences. Part 2 for between 1 minute and 30 seconds and 2 minutes. Part 3, 5 sentences approximately.
Sorry, I have a question.
Alta, can you please write your question to our chat part? Then I can answer this, okay? Because I'm just reading the questions from the chat and answering them in order to be fair.
Okay.
Okay, Nazrin, I don't know even, I mean, no, I can't understand what's the name of this ranking. Yeah, sometimes on Instagram or somewhere else, students text that teacher, I am A2 or I am B1. How much time do I need? When they say I am B1, I'm 70% sure that they are not B1, but they just think that they are B. So, you know, teachers should check it, but also, by the way, when it comes to the IELTS exam, I don't think that the IELTS shows the exactly the same levels. 7 is C1, but my students who got 7 from the IELTS exam, they don't have C1 level English. Their level was something like intermediate. Or 8.8 is again C1. 7.5 is also C1. But I think that there is a big difference between 7.5 and 8. So something like this. I actually B1. So for example, Nermin, if I'm not mistaken, your name is Nermin. Nermin, B1. Are you really B1? Which level of B1? Weak B1, middle B1, strong B1. 8.5. That's a really high score. So I'm not sure about it, to be honest. Normally, that's what I want. That's what I'm required to do. Usual teachers say that, yes, you will just join my classes and you will get it within 2 months. It's like, I cannot tell a lie. Don't think that like it is something like the motivation. No, I want to show the realities And guys, please don't want this course that you don't need. Just want this course that we need. Usually, when our classes start, students say that, teacher, I want to get 8. I say, okay. When we continue at the end of 1 month, I ask, which score do you want to get? 6.5 is enough. So because they see their full potential. Guys, it is not geography. It is not biology. It's not something like this. When it comes to this type of classes, you just study and go to the exam. And in the exam, you see these questions and answer them. IELTS is a totally different thing. In IELTS, in order to see an improvement in your language, you should be exposed to this language. You should improve your language skills. And it can, sometimes students say that, teacher, can we take a 1 month course in order to get, let's say, from 6.5 to 7.5, for example. I say that no, you need to 4 months approximately. Teacher, let's increase the number of classes. So even if we increase the number of classes, even if you pay a higher amount of payment, it will not affect your learning period. English language requires some time, and you need to dedicate yourself to this language. Really, in your daily life, you need to speak in this language. Podcasts, you need to listen, read books in this language as much as possible. You should be surrounded by this language. Because of this, mostly students from Khazar University, Baku Higher Royal School, and ADA, they get higher scores because English language is really used in these universities. But I'm not sure about the ones coming from language university because I don't know why. Maybe they don't use English in their daily lives, but their English background is not that much strong. I don't know why. I don't know the main reason. I teach 5 or 6 teachers per month, every month, from different universities. They are English teachers at universities. But I don't know why, but their English levels are pretty low. I don't know the reason. Maybe they are good at teaching elementary level students, but if we have this type of teachers at our universities, how can our students can get better English backgrounds? And also courses. Students finish B2 in one of the courses and they come and I see that their level is not okay. I don't know them. They are just several teachers who are good at this job. Trump, first scholarship. I'm not sure about which scholarship we are talking. You can have some free consultations from different studying abroad campaigns and they can give you information about this. Say them, I got from Scrap a good blow at one say that we know the speaking questions beforehand. Just go and study the speaking questions from IELTS Speaking Assistant app. There is no chance that the question will be a different one. Just study these questions. Mariam, unfortunately, without knowing you, I cannot say something precisely. I usually don't answer the questions like, I'm in this level, when can I get this score? We need to have a consultation in order to say something more precisely. Then, Nuray, I'm gonna send it. That's good. As I mentioned before, like if you have past 2 minutes, the examiner will stop you. That's not something bad. Yeah, although you can say that. Could you please repeat the given question? For example, in one of my exams, I couldn't have an idea relating to part 3 question, but we shouldn't stop and like staring at the examiner. We should say that that's an interesting question. I haven't thought about this before. Let me think a little bit. I need to show the examiner that I have understood the question. Just have some problems relating to the ideas. Jem, I don't think that there is one website which can find your general English level because your speaking plays a significant role, and even ChatGPT is not good at this. Yes, follow Saida's recommendation. Okay. Thank you, Ginay. I share them with my students, but you can also have an access, with just downloading this app. Also, we have one Telegram group that I share with my students. You can freely access. Unfortunately, that's the end of today's class because I'm required to go to Sumgayit, which will take approximately 1 hour. And tomorrow I have a flight, so that's why I shouldn't be late and sleep well.
Have a nice
Um,
day, teacher.
Thank you. I'm gonna send this material to my students and the recording as well. When it comes to family and friends, next Sunday we will meet again and we'll have discussions and topic-related vocabulary relating to family and friends. Okay? Until this,
Teacher,
I will
can
send
you
you just 1 minute. I will send you PDF. You will study this PDF at home. You will study the questions beforehand. And during our class, we will start discussing together. Okay? Yeah, you can ask a question.
can you answer my question, please? I wrote the question.
Let me see. If you take your exam at Barrettson, it will be either Jim or Susan. If I'm not mistaken, Jim is Irish and Susan has a clear accent. I don't know where she's from, but none of them is Indian. So go and take your exam from Barrettson in this
Teacher,
case.
can we really change our examiner?
No, just you can appeal.
Yeah, I
In this
know it's
case,
not right.
another examiner will check, but doesn't matter, you know. When you take from Barton, I don't think that there is a big difference between their scores. By the way,
Teacher,
guys, especially for my students, before taking your exams, just text me. I will send the number of Jim and take one mock exam with Jim in order to get his feedback because I think it is
teacher,
pretty effective, even if you take your exam from Jim. Yeah. So
I didn't mean that. I'm not racist, but if my examiner be Indian, I will change because I don't know the accent. So
no,
difficult.
how can your examiner be Indian? I say that in Barrettson there are 2 examiners.
Belki olsa.
No, olmayacak. No worries.
But I'm not racist. I have Indian friend also.
Okay. You are not racist. Okay, good. So I'm
Yeah.
not racist. I don't like their food. Once I was in their airport for approximately 14, I think, hours. And their food was terrible. I just hated it. And I
Yeah.
am not also racist. I had the same flight with a
I
lot
have
of
also
Indians
I have also
because it
black
was
friend.
cheap. Okay, another questions? Nurana, if I'm not mistaken, you are one of my students, so I will send. Günay, you can share it with us because it's a safe environment, but in the exam, don't do something like this because you can lose score. Okay?
Really?
Yeah. If
Oh my
you,
God.
in this case, if you show something relating to different
It can also,
countries,
value of someone else
yeah,
and kind of show your personality or something else
no,
like
the examiners have actually a right to decrease your score because of this. Don't do something like this.
Yeah, I
Don't
also
talk
arrived.
about country, different
Yeah, disrespectful.
nationalities and something like this. Okay. Any other questions? Nothing? Okay, then see you guys.
Have a nice trip, teacher.
Bye bye.
Thank
See
you very
you.
much.
Take care of yourselves. Bye bye.